What's going on? This is But I'm Not Wasted. I am your host, Zach Wolf. This is the podcast for lovers and makers of music. Let's go. What's up, buddy?
Find my way into the dark. Find my way into your heart. You said we never walk alone, but it's deep and dark and I can't find hope. To tell the truth, I can't see you far. Tell the truth, I can't see it all. Well, I need another miracle.
Yo, what is going on? But I'm Not Wasted people, my But I'm Not Wasted family. For those of you watching on video format, this is Mr. Carson, my little kitty. He's been in some of my stuff in the past, not in this podcast, but he's been on my YouTube channel that I had for making beats for a while and stuff like that. So I'm gonna put him down so he doesn't scratch me. I just picked him up to show you guys because he's been hanging out. But anyways, so that was my song Dark that you guys just heard. Yeah, that song is a version that's actually not released. The version that's online is a different one that I ended up reproducing with some other producers down the line. But yeah, that's my song Dark. I wrote that about 6 years ago. You can find it on Spotify, Apple Music, anywhere music's heard. And yeah, that kind of brings me to today's topic. I wanted to talk through just kind of songwriting in general, the process of songwriting for me, what that has looked like for me as an artist, what I've seen for best practices, what I've seen for other successful songwriters that I know that I'm connected to, or, just things that I've learned or whatever and things that I've seen. So anyways, I started writing songs just to give you my background on, kind of my journey as a songwriter specifically. Started writing songs when I was, a kid. I think most artists kind of start pretty young, not always, but that's how I started. I was 12, I think. I wrote my first song, actually really kind of weird. I don't know, apparently I was feeling a lot, but my first song as a kid, it was called Desperate Pain, which is so fucking intense. I don't know why that was what I called it, but apparently I was going through a lot as a 10-year-old or 12-year-old or whatever. And I still kind of remember the chorus. I still kind of remember some of the melodies. I feel like it came with a cool little guitar part, and I recorded it. I had a little software that I had at the time, Cubase, and I not that Cubase is a little software, but I was a little guy trying to figure out how to use it. I didn't know what the fuck I was doing. So that kind of started my songwriting journey as a kid. I started writing just a lot of songs, the process initially, and really started like it does for a lot of people, just to cope with life, just to process, girls and breakups and heartaches and things that I was going through and things that I was dealing with. It just was very therapeutic for me. Less, it wasn't there's so many formulas, right, with songwriting for so many people, but I was just a kid just writing songs, right? Not even that they were great freaking songs, because they weren't, but they were my songs, right? And so, yeah, that's kind of how I started. And then right out of college, when I was 22, I got signed for the first time for my music as an artist, and that's when I would say that's the first time I really co-wrote with anybody, because before that I was pretty independent. I was pretty kind of wanted to write on my own. I feel like a lot of artists start like that, and then you kind of realize damn, it actually helps to have other people write with me, because the more brains you can have on a song, honestly, generally the better it's going to be. So out of college, when I got signed, and I went to London for a little bit, I wrote the song you guys just heard, which is my song Dark, with this songwriter named Richard Craker. Shout out Richard. I don't know if he's still out there. Well, obviously he's still out there somewhere, but I don't know what he's doing. We haven't talked for several years. It was honestly a pretty crazy situation. I flew to London to work with him because of the group that I just been signed to was connected to him, because his dad was the ex-vice president of Sony Records UK. He was a huge producer, songwriter, mogul, music mogul, huge, very successful guy, worked with all the top artists in the world on a daily basis kind of thing. And so anyways, I think his name is Chris Craker. So, he's still doing his thing, I think too. But anyways, Wrote that song with Richard. So I flew to London, not knowing him at all. Literally, they like had the session at his house. So I went to this dude's house, super fucking awkward. Not that he was like an awkward dude, but I just was like, fuck, like this is so weird. Like, I don't know who this guy is, and I'm in his house. And then we went to his like room and we just wrote this fucking song. And at the time I was like really depressed and struggling a lot with like mental health. And so I just was like, fuck, that's what I'm feeling. And then also I was just like really uncomfortable because I was like, this is like, it was a pretty brutal session. Like, honestly, like everyone's workflow is different, but I remember we just like got in this room. He's like, all right, what do you want to do? And I was like, dude, I just fucking flew here from the US. Like, I'm tired as fuck, and he just went right into it, which actually made an amazing song because it was kind of a pressure situation. Wasn't like a lot of formalities. We just kind of were like, yeah, my name's Zach, my name's Richard. All right, let's write a song, bro. And so anyways, yep, we wrote that song, Dark, and it came out in like probably like 2 hours, if I remember correctly. Actually, I think over the course of the day, we wrote and produced like 2 or 3 different songs. We actually wrote a lot, but that was the one that we resonated with the most. And then, ended up putting that, no, I don't even think I put it out, but just ended up like holding on to that song. And then eventually when I got signed in the US, in LA, that was a song I had that got national radio play. So all to say, that's kind of been my journey. I mean, that's very preliminary. I've done a lot since then, songwriting wise, but like, I think, a lot of people start writing, like for therapy, like songwriting for so many people is just like how to process life. It's like what's going on with like inside of you. And it's kind of a way to get that outside of you, like emotionally. It's very like therapeutic. But I think the important thing to realize for a lot of artists, because I think a lot of artists, like I would say I have both ends of the spectrum in my life, where I have friends that are songwriters that are very successful writing with very, very big artists, or, successful themselves as artists. And then I have friends maybe that are, or people just in my circle that I see and interact with that are artists, but they really refuse to like help or let other people help their songwriting process. And I would say those are the people that are the most stunted and the least successful. And I think that's because collaboration is just really helpful in the songwriting process. Like, of course you can write a freaking banger on your own. I do think some of the best things I've written were just on my own, but I also think it's just helpful to have other people in the process, And so that song was cool because it has like the honest, it was a super, super raw fucking song. It wasn't a fake story. It's a real, like what I was going through. It was like a prayer to God to be like, help me in that current state that I was at. Excuse me. And then at the same time, I worked with a guy who was just a very technical songwriter, and combining like his songwriting skills with my rawness, I think made a really good song. And so, yeah, I think those are kind of the 2 elements I think are the most important in songwriting, is just like super raw. What's the emotion you're going through, or that someone else has gone through, or just something you care about. And then also combining that with just like, like the technical side of songwriting. And by the technical side of songwriting, I mean like, just like melodic structure. Like a songwriter friend of mine that's written for Maroon 5 and a couple other really big artists, he always says that the hook should be within the first 60 seconds of the song. Otherwise people lose interest, and things like that. So that's kind of like the structure science behind songwriting. And then there's like the emotional side. So in terms of my whole process, there's the emotional side of songwriting, which is just like the raw thing I'm feeling. And then there is the technical side of the things I do on a practical level to make sure that the song actually cuts through and connects with a larger audience, which is the point, right? So I'm going to share some of those things that I'd like to do. One of them, like I just mentioned, my friend who writes for some pretty successful, like, multinational artists, he always says the hook of the song, the chorus needs to be within the first 60 seconds. So that's something I always try to remember. Something else that I also try to remember is if the verse has a lot of consonants in it, like say there's just a lot of movement in the verses, then your chorus should be a lot more space. And what I mean by that is if your verse is really like something like that, then your chorus should be like, well, we're all like, just an example of like, if your verses are really moving a lot, then your chorus should be space. If your verses have a lot of space, then your chorus should be a lot of movement. So yeah, that's something that I think has really benefited my songs and helped kind of take my songs to the next level. Something else too that I've heard, I think Ryan Tedder said it, who's one of the best songwriters alive, obviously. I would say in my opinion, but that's just like a fact. he always says that like you should have, I think this was him at least. He's like, bro, I didn't fucking say this, but I think he says you should always have like 2 or 3 different melodies that are like the repeating melodies throughout your song, and not really a lot more than that. So like your verse, there's a melody, your chorus, there's a melody, maybe you have a bridge melody, but that's really it. Like you need to have 2 or 3 different kind of hook like melodies that are consistent throughout your song so that people can remember the song, right? Because, you know, you have 2 to 3 minutes to like tell a story, convey a message that you want to convey, and get your point across, or all the above, or just process your own pain. And like you want to do it in a way where people are going to remember it so that your story is repeated. I think a lot of artists struggle with that side of it, like the practical side of it, because they're like, oh, I don't care about that. I just want to write genuine songs. And it's like, of course, but like, think about it like this, like, you know, no one ever builds a car with the intention of nobody riding in it. And just because someone can like, you know, be the most ultra craftsman, genuine, integral person and like take 10 years to build this beautiful car and engine and body, but the ultimate purpose is for someone to ride in that car. And if like the purpose is just for you, then don't be practical. Don't like, you know, don't think about the things that are going to make your song also like commercially cut through. But if you're honest with yourself, every artist wants that. And so what are the things that are practical? And those are just some of the things that I think are really helpful for me. So yeah, those are some of the things I think about in my songwriting process, but also just keeping it up regularly. I have a 3-hour songwrite session with my friend Corey Schneider. He's actually currently a big co-writer of mine. Me and him write a lot of my songs together. We just wrote a banger last night. Let's go. And yeah, I think the more I've grown as an artist, the more I've realized how important it is to write with people that are better than you. Like, honestly, Corey's a better songwriter than me. He's, like, he wouldn't say that because he's a humble dude, but like, when we write, I'm just like, dude, you take my songs as such, like he pushes it and makes me think of my songs in such a different way that I wouldn't. But yeah, that's really it. I just wanted to talk through songwriting. I just kind of wanted to talk through my process through songwriting, some things that have helped me, some things I've learned along the way. Being an artist, you know, I haven't done crazy things, but I've, you know, been in some pretty cool rooms and gotten to get national radio play for my music and things like that. So obviously, you know, I want to take some of the things that have helped me get to some of those places and just give them to you guys. That's a lot of the point of this podcast. So anyways, appreciate it. Please comment. I would love to know just your process behind songwriting. Hit me up on there's like a poll, I think, on Spotify for podcasters, like the Spotify podcast app, where you can kind of like respond to, I'm going to ask a question about kind of your process around songwriting. Feel free to email me too. My email's found on my website, or just DM me on Instagram, Zach Wolf Music. Would love to know your songwriting process, what helps you, what doesn't help you. And yeah, see you next week. Hey guys, thanks so much for listening. Please rate, review, subscribe. Like legit, I want to know your feedback. I want to know if you liked it, if you didn't like it, talk about different things, whatever you want. Just send me messages, DM me on Instagram, Zach Wolf Music. Share this everywhere across your social media. That helps us grow. And yeah, stay tuned for next week. Let's go.